Hey,
Put it that way.
final question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I get on Nissan. We won't stop. But the whole Land Rover thing or whatever, the debacle you guys had with that. How
Yeah.
did that? Did they end? I think they kind of end up sending some engineers or something. They like kind of helped out a little bit, right? Because they, not that you guys were a big voice, but they're like, shit, man, this thing just came out, and this is not how we want it to come out. And of course, it's a car that's going to tear up anyways or fall apart.
Well, first of all, a couple things for those of you, for your viewers who haven't seen what we've done. We were one of the first agents outlets to get our hands and buy a Land Rover Defender, new one. It has nothing to do with the old Land Rover Defender. Just don't even think about it. They look kind of similar. That's it. Underneath, a lot of it is basically, any other Land Rover, but with beefier springs, beefier suspensions, that type of stuff. So just to, put it out there. We bought one of the least expensive versions with the 4-cylinder turbo, and it essentially broke immediately. We took it off-road once, and it just freaked out.
Yeah.
I won't go into detail. So it was so bad, they could not fix it at our service center, which is in Colorado, and Colorado is a huge, huge buyer of Land Rover and Range Rover.
There's a little money where you guys are at, so yeah.
A lot of money, yeah, hell yeah. So, it was, you would think, they'd be able to figure it out. No, they couldn't figure it out. Yeah. So, Land Rover themselves said, okay, we're, rather than us doing the lemon law thing, which is what our next step was going to be, they gave us another one, basically in exchange. Now, granted, if we weren't a fairly large video outlet, and we're pretty good size, so we have a good footprint, especially with off-road stuff, they probably would have been harder to play with. That's being completely honest and transparent. Yeah. However, they were very kind and said, what we'll do is we'll give you this. This one's the 6-cylinder, and, you can go ahead and, because our whole point was doing a build, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay, then we get this one. Well, at the dealership, and what we wanted to do, we figured, okay, we got this. Let's do the next part of this project, which was putting a winch on. Now, this is a winch that is a Land Rover winch. I think it's a Warren, but I might be wrong. But anyway, it's its own kit, right? So the dealership actually puts it on. Couldn't do it. Couldn't make it work. Not only that, but once they did it, they basically assassinated the vehicle. So we never got that one. It was in the dealership. Shortly after we got it, it stayed in the dealership because they could not get it to work.
Wow.
Finally, and we talked to Land Rover and said, listen, we're being honest with our audience about this. We're telling people what's going on with our, we're now on number 2 and it's gone. I said, okay, we're going to do this again. Here's number 3. Just take it. Let's maybe hold off on that winch for now.
Yeah.
The third one came to us. And that third one, drum roll, has been fantastic.
Nice.
No problems with it. We've been beating the crap out of it. The only thing that happened was blew 2 tires on a trail with it. We being Tommy and Roman, not me, just so you guys know. And yeah, it was a real shame.
That was a great video. Tommy's normally chipper, happy, but I could see it in his face of just I've had enough. I don't want to tear this thing up. And I've had flat tires on trails like that. It's kind of it is a cluster F of like, I got to find flat ground and yet not tear the vehicle up.
And when you cannot find flat ground, which Tommy thought he was driving to a flatter place.
Yeah.
And we were going to stop right there, and then he cut another tire. It's a real bummer, and a lot of people gave us a lot of crap. Oh, you shouldn't have aired down, or you should have aired down more, or you should have this, or you should have that. Well, you know what? One of the things we do is we like to take the vehicles as they are. We did air down, by the way, on all the other vehicles quite a bit, and it worked fine. The biggest problem with Land Rover and their Defender is the fact that they don't quite have the mix for people who actually might take them off-road for real.
Because I don't think
the tech.
They don't think anybody will actually take these off-road is what it is.
Yeah, but what the crazy thing is actually quite a few do.
Yeah.
There's this huge majority of people who won't. But there's also, I would say about 20% of the people will do some real off-roading.
Yeah.
I saw a huge group of people in brand new Defenders and R4s, a whole bunch of other ones in Moab going up and over Wipeout Hill. I couldn't believe that they were doing that. They were going everywhere. And they had a whole group, and there was a lot of them. And I talked to some of those guys, and they said, yeah, a lot of us really do off-road. We may not do it as often as a lot of Jeep guys, and we don't like to do the full builds.
Yeah.
We like to get a vehicle that whenever we feel like it, we can just go off road without any modification.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of leaned back and I said, yeah. And I'm noticing that you've got 20-inch wheels and low profile tires. That might work here on slick rock and
Yeah.
maybe even in sand, but that's not going to work on boulders. And he totally agreed with me. And he said that the biggest issue that he's having with these Land Rover guys is the fact that they won't give them like a 15-inch with real meat.
Yeah.
And the reason why? Simple reason.
Yeah.
The brake caliper itself, just the caliper, not even the caliper is huge. They can't get anything smaller than like a 17 on the lesser models. And then it has to be either like an 18 or a 19 on the other models with the bigger brakes. You just can't get anything else over it. So in order to do that, you got to pull off everything, replace the brakes with smaller ones, which means you're screwing up your braking distance and everything else, and you're screwing with the vehicle's traction control and everything. I swear you are. It's so overcomplicated, and to me, it's like, why couldn't you guys just do this from the beginning? Why
Yeah.
couldn't you just have, you say it's a Defender,
Yeah.
you're giving it one of the most advanced traction control systems out there for off-roading, and an absolute capable. I mean, its approach and departure angles are excellent, especially when it's fully jacked up. It has so much potential, and you limit it. I don't understand. So now you might notice you're seeing these special editions that are going to start coming out that do have different brakes, different tires, different wheels, and they'll be a little bit more off-road capable. The real issue is, of course, the tech, but this last one that we had, Tommy drove it on like a 1,700-mile round trip cross-country, no problems.
Yeah.
Roman and I have taken it to Moab about 5 times, no problems. We used it as a camera vehicle, no problems. It was solid as a rock. That's not to excuse Land Rover for the other 2 vehicles that were terrible.
Right.
But maybe once production got going, they worked out some of those bugs.
One worst time, pandemic, worst time to be building vehicles because quality is down. I will say across the board, quality is slightly down a little bit. So